want to first tell you that we are really glad that everybody is here that's on the panel. And I'm going to introduce them as I ask them questions. I'm going to start with the Early Learning Center, who's down here at the far end. And we have with us today Jana Stevenson. Will you raise your hand and wave at everybody? Jana Stevenson.
Jana.
And Amy Stevenson. And then Donna Brown, who's the teacher. As you can imagine, Amy is the parent. So I'm going to start with our student. Jana, what's your favorite work that you do at school?
100 board.
Did you make sure that
100 board.
The 100 board. She likes that a lot. And I'm going to ask you a real quick second question. How do you and your friends solve things when somebody can't get along with somebody else?
Play cards or either fill it up.
Can Mama say that again real quick?
Pistol.
They go to the peace table and they work it out. Very good. Thank you so much. Ms. Stevenson, if you would answer a question for me, what kind of qualities have you seen emerge from your child through these last 3 years at the Early Childhood Center?
Wow, you have to consider.
Speak in the microphone for me.
She has been there since she was 3 years old, and she's now 6. So you can imagine the transformation that I've seen in these 3 years, such a developmental time. Jana has learned to choose, to make good choices, and Jana has changed from the timid little 3-year-old going into school, bright-eyed, not knowing what to expect, to gaining a great sense of independence. And she is bright and looking forward to starting first grade now. So we're real proud of the changes that we've seen.
Very good. And I would ask you one other question. What have you learned from her?
Gosh.
Beg your pardon?
We have learned that it's important as a parent to continue what she learns in the school, to bring it home and to read every day, and to see the progress that she is making. It just makes me understand that it is important as a parent that we bring home those things that they're practicing in school and read every day and see the progress that she makes there.
Very good. Thank you. And Ms. Brown, if you could tell us how, I'm going to ask you one question. How is the school now different at the Early Childhood Center than it was before y'all made changes in the culture there?
Well, the culture has changed tremendously. It was hard to change, but we had to give up our control to the children. The children are the ones that are in control of the school, and the fact that they take lunch carts, they do breakfast carts, they clean the rooms, they help each other with their learning, and the teacher is there just as a resource. They're not the bright jewel in the classroom any longer. The children are the ones in control of what's going on in the classroom.
Yeah, very good. Sounds really hard when you first think about it, doesn't it, teachers? But then suddenly, they're doing everything. Not everything.
Not everything.
That's right.
Almost.
All right, I'm going to move to Oakland Elementary. Cece Dardo, is that the way you pronounce your name, Cece? She's in the 4th grade. Cece, tell us what something is that your class has completed this year that you think you'll remember for the rest of your life.
I think I will always remember the action planning class because we got to take home a sheet and thought of an idea to do out of recyclable objects. And I made a birdhouse out of recyclable objects and picked up trash. The lesson I wanted to learn was to always keep our earth clean.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Cece. And just tell us maybe a couple of the 21st century learning skills that you've been able to use this year, and which ones are your favorite ones?
A few of the 21st century skills that my class has participated in this year would be using tablets for tweeting and using Twitter, playing games in stations for reading and math, and writing our class blog using the computer instead of a pencil and paper. And lastly, our class also created an infographics on the computer to practice nonfiction text features instead of completing with the pencil and paper. And that was one of my favorites, the infographic.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the parent, Jennifer Bruce, who is not only the chair of the School Improvement Council, but also the vice president of the PTA. We know that's a lot of work. Ms. Bruce, as a parent, what kinds of concrete changes have you seen in your child's interest and engagement in the learning process at Oakland?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to all the educators that are in the room. You all have such important jobs and you work so hard and you do so many things that are behind the scenes. So as a parent, I thank each and every one of you for everything that you do. As a parent at Oakland, I think one of the main things that I've seen, my child, I have two children, one is in 4th grade and one is in the 1st grade. So the 4th grader started and went through kindergarten and 1st grade before the project-based learning really took a foothold in our school. And the change that I've seen in him is just utter excitement and enthusiasm for learning. He cannot get enough of coming to school every day. And I think as a parent, that's what you want, right? I mean, yes, we love our students to get straight A's and bring home perfect report cards, but more than that, we want them to be engaged in learning. And so my son, we have such a dialogue. Our homework situation has changed drastically as a result of PBLs because it's not just, as several of the panelists have said, we're no longer memorizing facts so that we can spit them out on a test. Yes, there's a place for that, and we still need to do some of that, but we're having a dialogue, we're conversing about how can he take what he's learned and apply that in a real life situation. And I think project-based learning is so important because they can take the skills that they've learned and apply those, and then they're going to retain what they've learned for longer. And you're going to be able to see that as a teacher, as a student yourself. It's so gratifying to be able to move on the next year and say, wow, I actually remembered that information and I can use that in a different way. So I can't say enough about what our school has done in that regard. I think it's really important as a parent to be involved, particularly in the elementary level, because your child needs to feel empowered. One of the things that we've talked about and Dr. Patterson mentioned is that we don't want to be afraid to fail. And I think project-based learning does a great job of teaching us to make a mistake and then learn from that and take it forward.
Very good, thank you. And this is dangerous when you've got multiple potential pronunciations of someone's name, but our 1st grade teacher, Missy McMahon,
Oh,
or
you did
McMahon.
great. That's
good,
perfect.
Good.
My students just call
if
me
you would
Miss
just-
Mac.
Good, okay, Miss Mac. Could you just tell us, what would you tell other teachers who are hesitant to try project-based learning? What would you tell them?
Well, I have to share my own story with you because when Dr. Patterson first came to Oakland, I'd been at Oakland the whole time that it had been there. I started my career in District 2, and it was a very traditional school, as he pointed out. And he came in like a ball of dynamite, and we didn't know what was going on, but it turned out to be wonderful. I was very reluctant at first. I said, what, you want us to do what, and how do you want us to do it, and what's it supposed to look like? And it was really hard for me to let go at first of having control over the classroom. And as I began to explore PBL a lot more with the support of our faculty and Dr. Patterson, he's so encouraging. As I began to explore it, I realized that I am a much better teacher when I let the children be the ones who are front and center in the room. They're the ones who are directing their learning. Yes, I am teaching them standards. I'm teaching them things they need to know, but they're choosing the pathway. They're setting out on a course, a journey every day in the classroom, and it just makes them better learners. It makes me a much, much better teacher. I think I have grown tremendously in the past 3 years through PBL. So I would just suggest to teachers to take it slow, take it in small steps, have that growth mindset. You are going to make mistakes. There's going to be roadblocks. You're going to say, what was I thinking when I did that? But more than anything, those children are going to learn and remember what they're doing. I have 1st graders this year, and they're still talking about the PBLs and the things that they learned in kindergarten, and what they've learned there has carried over to this year, and they're able to apply it. So I know that it's making a difference in the way that they learn.
Very good, thank you. We're going to go to Whitmore Park Middle School now, and Emily, our student. Emily, welcome. Could you tell us just quickly, how is your school different now than it was in past years?
Now our school is more technology focused, Now we have instant access to all information. We have iPads, phones, and MacBooks that we carry around with us all the time. The teachers are we don't have to wait on the teachers to get the information. They just have to help us understand it and know what to do with it. We have more opportunities to advance learning at our own pace. When we're ready, we get to decide when we are ready. We have more projects. We use multimedia to present. We develop websites, slide decks, and word process papers.
Very good, thank you. And her mother, Laurie Wise, could you tell us, did you have concerns when this was being implemented, and just briefly what they were, maybe? Because
I did have concerns. I have another daughter at the same school, and I was with the technology and the one-on-one devices and all of the digital content that was going to be happening in the classrooms. I was afraid that my children were going to get lost, that the teacher was going to be replaced by this digital content and there would not be as much teaching. And it actually ended up being quite the opposite. The digital content serves as a learning tool for the teachers as well as the students. They get real-time data that they can use to instantly turn around and adjust those assignments to meet the students' needs, whether it be having to go back and repeat something that maybe the child is having trouble with, or if they can accelerate their learning.
Very good, very good. And you notice, despite her concerns and trepidations, both mother and daughter are using their iPads for their notes. It's very good. And the teacher, John Williams, who is a blended learning teacher, I'm going to ask you, what do you think was the hardest challenge for you in implementing it as a teacher?
I have a couple of challenges. I think the first one, since when we started on this journey of personalized learning, I think one of the biggest challenges was trying to figure out how to develop personalized learning pathways for all students with so many ability levels. So we had to just take on this mindset of continuous improvement. I think the other thing particularly is building a culture of self-directed learning and authentic investment of all stakeholders. That was a challenge because many of our kids that were coming, they were not used to education in this manner. They were used to someone standing and delivering the information to them. Well, so when they came, when we started, as Ms. Beard mentioned, we started with 6th grade. We had to train the kids and really breed that into them to understand that's the culture. We want you to be the drivers of your learning. And so those were probably the biggest, I would say, challenges to implementing this.
Okay, very good.
plan.
Thank you very much. Now, finally, Cougar New Tech High School, and since we've heard from Samantha and Joshua Cable already, we're going to ask Dr. Calcutt, Dr. Andrew Calcutt, how were you and the other parents in the school involved in the implementation of the New Tech school model?
Well, to just start off with, I want to echo my thanks to all the educators in the room. Good teachers are like good nurses. You cannot be paid enough.
That's right.
Bad teachers are like bad nurses. We need to find a way to hide the bodies. First, if you're not in project-based learning now, do not be afraid. I am old school. I mean, I come from a system, being educated as a surgeon, where it is very almost militaristic. The idea that my daughter was going to take part, and was very excited, as you can tell, into this new thing that was different. First, if you're an educator who's not doing it, do not be afraid. If you're a parent in here, as a teacher, incorporate your parents. First, you've got to have great leadership. The Colleton County School District leadership, especially Mr. Warren and Dr. Crosby and Mr. Capel, you got to have a vision. And then you've got to cast that vision to those parents. And I think all the parents on this panel will tell you that. And once you see what's happening, then you need to engage your community. We have some of our community people here. You need to show off. Get your parents involved, get your community involved, show off. Toot your own horn, because if you don't toot it, ain't nobody going to toot it for you. Because your parents, and we have a parent advisory council, a parent support group, parents from a variety of from every area of the community are invited in, are required. You're supposed to do volunteer hours. Set your parent expectations just like you do for your student. Raise the bar. A lot of parents just want to turn them over to you and let you babysit them. Pull those parents in. Tell them you've got an expectation of them, just like you have an expectation of their child. Through volunteer hours, through an input back into the program, our parents feel empowered. They feel important. And so when their voice is heard, they get to suddenly say, hey, I'm a part of this process. And every one of you in the room knows, as a parent or as a teacher, the parent is your first teacher and your most important teacher. And if you can help teach parents to model what it is you need to get from their kids, you will be a success. So, yes,
Very good.
implementation, very important.
Very good. Let's thank our panelists, number one, for being patient and for having a shorter session.